Man.
Hello, everybody. This is me and my black screen. I guess that way.
You can't.
I can't see you, Kevin.
What?
I can't see you.
I can see me. I can see you with your beautiful hat.
No, I can't. Let's see if I do this and then add you. There you are.
Oh.
How's that? Now I got some circular feedback from my voice into your computer.
Oh, don't give me that.
Nope. It's gone now. It's gone now. It was a temporary loss of information.
All right.
Hey, everybody.
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
When did you decide to rock that hat? Is this a winter thing, or is this you pretending to ab drive?
No, this is I love pub caps, and for the longest I bought a pub cap at a thrift store in 2003, and I had it up until last year. I had it all over the world with us. It was just in tatters underneath. But my mother-in-law got me this. They measured my head and then ordered it from some Irish company in Killarney, Ireland. Mucros, right?
Killarney.
Look at that. Oh. Right, it's in Killarney. They're celebrating Christmas there.
Killarney, many years ago. My mother sang a song to me in tongue so sweet and low. Do you know that song?
No, but it's beautiful. Oh, okay. I know that part. That's beautiful. I was just thinking Christmas in Killarney with all of the folks at home. That one.
Man, I've been jamming out lately to this Celtic Reels and Jigs radio playlist Spotify. And it has some jams. Like, it's exactly the kind of Celtic Reels and Jigs I want to be listening to. Like, tons of flute, tons of fiddle, tons of hand drum, and the only thing that it's missing is there aren't that many songs that have lyrics. It's a lot of instrumental stuff.
Okay.
I like some lyric stuff once in a while, but do you know the difference between a jig and a reel?
No.
So call it all jigs. Everybody says they're all jigs, right? So the only difference is that a reel is in 4/4 time basically, and a jig is 8. So you feel a jig as more waltzy, or it's
okay,
yeah. And you feel the reel is just really like the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4.
Huh.
Yep. So there you go. There's your random use fact for the day because you have an Irish on.
I love it. Are you on your phone or a computer?
I'm currently on my phone because my computer is out of commission. And is my sound bad?
No, it sounds great. It's really choppy feed. Like the stream is choppy, but you can't do anything about it. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Oh, bummer. Because you're perfect. Like, you're coming through clear and
stop it
and everything. I wonder if there's anything I can do. I'm on 5G.
I have no clue, man. 5G?
Yeah.
Isn't 5G the thing that like puts demons in your head? I can't remember. It was something evil. 5G.
Oh, maybe we could ask our guest tonight.
He might know. Yeah,
he's internet savvy, isn't he?
He was logged in, yeah, and he had to log out and switch over to something else. But we can go over what we're drinking tonight. What are you drinking?
Absolutely. I am going with rye whiskey on the rocks in my
cool
bourbon scotch cup. Yep. I forget what these are called. Drum.
I have no clue.
Drum.
What is the what brand of rye?
Insurrection, revolution, resurrection.
Revolution?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Does that sound like a
Yeah.
brand?
Yeah, Resurrection Rye is a thing. Pretty sure.
Oh, dang it! Now I want to know.
Insurrection sounds awesome. I
Not to
I
be confused
keep
with erection.
no, right. You don't. That's not even something you should drink as a Catholic. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
erection rye.
Yep,
Just
Erection
leave
Rye.
that on the shelf.
Yep, don't touch it. Just
Hey,
don't
are we
go there.
live
It's
right
like
now?
what?
Are we streaming live?
Yeah, people are
Oh,
watching.
so that's in there.
Yeah, that's totally in there. The rye whiskey song that you introduced me to from Smash Brothers.
Rye whiskey makes. Oh, yes.
So I can't get past the line of rye whiskey makes the spirit more willing. The spirit more willing, but the body much weaker. Oh boy, like that line is like almost always in my head lately since you
I
introduced me
love
to that
the
song.
oh boy. Oh
It's so
boy.
fun.
It's such a
It's
great
so good.
exasperation at the end of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Because he talks about I used to wake up bright and early and hug my baby tightly and get my work done quickly. Oh boy, but rye whiskey makes your body much weaker. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. What do you drink?
I feel really sick. I've been sick the last 2 days. Sore throat, like tired. So I made myself a hot toddy.
Oh, you even wrote it down. Look at
I
you.
wrote
I'm
it
doing that from
down.
now on a plate when we go live. So 1.5 ounces of rye. Wait, let me read it. Close. 1.5 ounces. Yep. 1.5 ounces of brandy. All right.
A dash of lemon juice.
And a bar spoon of
Swerve. Now, here's the thing. So we're still, Thanksgiving's over and Christmas hasn't started. So we're still doing the stinging keto. So there's this sweetener that's like brown sugar. It's called Swerve.
Sounds trendy.
I have hated every other sweetener like stevia and all those things. Like they're so, no offense. I hate them. But this tastes like brown sugar, man. This is great. So I dropped a bar spoon of that.
Man,
And I have to put
it in the lab to make it taste like brown sugar.
I think they have to coax it. There's like talk to it.
Tease out the brown sugar flavors.
Yep.
Yeah, massage.
Okay, massage. They've got to massage it.
They got to massage it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
And here's the thing. I've got to put a plug in because, go local. Nobody local watches this show, but there's a guy here in town, Woody's Fairly Reliable Rye Whiskey.
Wow.
And
fairly reliable.
And I've had it in my hot toddies the last 2 nights, and I really like it. So there's that. And then E&J is the brandy.
Man, I've made hot toddies just for about a year now, and I've never put brandy in them. I've never mixed 2 liquors. It's always been just one. Either brandy or.
I don't know if you're supposed to. I haven't checked the internet, but I like the mix in a hot toddy. I don't think I would like them. Well, actually, there's a drink. What's it called? Shoot, I had it written down. It's called a Saratoga Cocktail, and that has brandy and whiskey and then vermouth. I don't like vermouth as much lately, but so it has brandy and whiskey.
It's so funny. You can look up a recipe for hot toddy, and you might as well have looked up a recipe for like what is the internet, because there are recipes, and like everybody has a hot toddy recipe, and I've never seen 2 that are the same.
Well, and everybody, it's like, well, my grandma did it this way, and so everybody's grandma was just making crap up from what they had. So rocks and rye, right? That's what it's called. Yeah, rocks and rye. It's you can buy it in a bottle on its own, but it started because when people were sick, they'd take rye and then they'd just dump a bunch of rock sugar, like chunks of sugar in there. So if you ever do, it's usually on the very bottom shelf. So if you don't ever look down there, you should. It's just rocks and rye, and it's actually super, super sweet, but it's tasty. So yeah.
Rocks and rye. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. There you go. Now you know.
Last week, friend showed up with this bottle of extremely strong bourbon to a men's night, and it turned out it was not strong bourbon at all. It was just a bottle he used to make some concoction of brandy and water and honey. So it was low ABV, and he just said it was really fun because you can drink it and it tastes really good, and it doesn't it doesn't mess you up like a big old glass of bourbon or whatever. You drink it small amounts. But one of the guys there who was like had told him to bring it, his wife swears by it. It's like her favorite drink. So like anytime you see him, he's like, I got some of this for your wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it good?
It was good. I'm not a fan of really sweet drinks per se, but it was good. Yeah.
I used to be. I'm not as much now. I like the stronger tastes now, not as much of the sweet.
Yeah. I have one baby girl drink that I drink. And you're gonna laugh at me. We're gonna drink it when teas in a couple of weeks.
Are you gonna say it?
Can I say it?
You can say it. I haven't put it out there. I was gonna put it out tomorrow. You can say it now. Just say it.
All right.
What's happening?
So we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of when we had a fun show with our friend Father Mike, and so we always talked about wanting to do a show where we watch It's a Wonderful Life, because I know for you it's maybe your favorite movie or up there.
It's the only movie. It's the only movie.
And for me, it's definitely in my top 3 movies of all time, not Christmas. Yeah. And
not
same with
Christmas.
Father Mike, it's like his top 3 of all time.
When I first met Father Mike, it was his favorite. I know he has shifted. He's got to shift everything. So now it's top 3. But yeah. So go ahead, keep going.
Oh, that's it. We are gonna watch It's a Wonderful Life and comment on it in a much less entertaining and funny way than Mystery Science Theater 3000 would do it, or Riff Tracks.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about the depths of that movie as we watch it, and I'll cry. And I'll drink my girly drink.
Well, okay. So Friday, February 17th,
December
8 p.m.
17th.
Central Time. Sorry, December. Did I say April?
You said February.
Did I say February? Oh, that's weird. I thought I said April. December. That's how I have not slept well the last 4 nights.
Did I say April?
Did I say April? Not either of that. You didn't say April at all. We should just cut for the night. Friday, December 17th, 8 p.m. Central Time, here on this Old Fashioned Catholics channel. We will just live stream. Now, I don't know that we'll be able to get the rights to have it on the screen, but I was actually realizing, so we had joked, well, why don't because we'll be in different houses and towns. So we're all 3 going to have it queued up to the same timestamp, and we're going to push play at the same time. And then anybody who's watching live, especially, but even after the fact, they'll just get it queued up and they can push play as well. And what I realized was it's actually, if people follow along, like listen along, they can watch it on like their big screen at home. Like they don't have to like watch it on a little TV or a computer screen. They can just watch it at home and then have I was going to say stupid commentary, but it won't be, because we all 3 love the movie so much that
we love it. And I feel like we there's something about Frank Capra that like I just get in this movie. Like, man, I feel like I would have asked you to be another grandfather for my children. Like, just, man.
Seriously. No, I know. Well, I was gonna start talking about it. We should wait till the 17th, because I have so much. Okay, but that's not tonight. So one of the things is we're all gonna drink a drink that comes in the movie at some point. We'll all like there's a bunch of different references. Father Mike pointed out Clarence drinks milk. Yeah. So he might just drink milk. But yeah. So we're gonna do that. We'll be immersive and encourage everybody to do so as well. So
yeah. I'll be drinking ice cold river water because he jumps.
Okay.
Yeah. And get it straight out of the St. Louis River.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
Good.
That's good.
Hey, do we have a guest tonight? We did, and then he disappeared.
No, he came back. He's here. We're gonna let him come in if he's ready. And if you're watching now live, you can see the live chat. Then you know that everybody in the live chat is here because of this man. And he actually, a couple weeks ago when we did a live stream and we had Haley on, he was in the chat section as Paleocrat. And I am new to the Catholic world still, and I didn't know any of that, who that was. And they were like, Paleocrat's here. And so then he contacted me the next day, the day after. He actually linked a part of our broadcast in his episode. And then he and I have been talking a bunch. Last night we stayed up till after midnight talk. Well, for him, it was after 1, talking just about sound and lighting on episodes and stuff. So I'm very excited to have him on. Let's see. I did want to put this up here. Hallelujah said, St. Bibiana, feast day tomorrow. Drink a beer tomorrow since she's the patroness of drinkers and alcohol. There you go. So we got that.
Bibiana. Sweet.
Bibiana. All right. And Phil did quote, that's one of the drinks, man. That's mulled wine, heavy on the cinnamon, light on the cloves.
Light on the cloves.
So good. Okay. All right. So we are going to invite our drink in. Our guest in. Let's add to the stream. Mr. Paleocrat, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. Wonderful, man. I hate not having my nice microphone and my nice camera, but it's StreamYard, man. It's StreamYard.
I know.
Whenever I use my condenser mic on StreamYard, it's like this kung fu movie, and it's like this old,
really?
Where it's dubbed, and so it's
right.
You're like, hello, welcome to Paleocrat.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the worst. And so it's an inferior microphone. It's true. But I thought it'd be better to be able to actually see my mouth move at the same time than to look fancy. Yeah, it's preferential.
I think
definitely
on your mouth. So that yeah. You
great.
sound great.
This is the first moment that Kevin has met Paleocrat, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask Mr. Paleocrat. I noticed, so in the title for this episode, I used your name and Paleocrat. Should I remove your name? Because you're just Paleocrat here.
I'm pretty anonymous. People don't really know who I am. I like to keep it that way. So if you could take that off, that'd be really helpful.
I will.
No, of course not. No, I'm lying, dude. No, don't do that. I don't know. What are you talking about, man? No.
I'm like, wait, you're on YouTube. Are you sure?
No. You keep my name on there, man.
Okay, that scared me. I was oh shoot. I was looking like, how do I in real time? How do I edit this?
No, you're good, dude. You're good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So before we get into everything, we didn't even do our intro. Everybody knows it doesn't matter. We're old-fashioned Catholics. We're Catholics who like to drink old fashions. You could sip along with us. We talked about our drinks. We only ask our guests 2 questions, Mr. Paleocrat, and then the rest is unscripted. The one thing is, at the end of the episode tonight, you'll have to make a toast. We have our guest make the toast. So it doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be moving. It's just some form of toast. But in the meantime, the 2 questions we asked. The first one is, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I am drinking. It's a mix. My wife made this juice for me because I'm doing the keto thing, right? I put on the freshman 15, but I repeated the freshman year a couple times, I think. And so I've got to cut that weight, man, fast. So I've instituted Fat Shame Fridays. That's one of those things. And I'm fat shaming myself to fitness. The other thing is
it works.
So definitely trying to maintain that and trying to stay away from too many carbs. And I just got done with an 8-pack. It was sent to me by Tridentine Brewing. So they sent to me.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm telling. Hey, man. I told them. I forget how it even started, but they reached out to me and everything, and we talked. And I said, look, if you send me beer, I said, dude, because he said he was going to send me some, and I said, I'll drink it right on the air. And he's like, well, no, you don't have to. I mean, we just want you to just have it. Man, they didn't expect what I was going to do. I ended up making like every episode I went through and I showed the beer. I talked about it kind of like you guys are doing. And one episode is the first, I think it's the first one. I made a joke because I'm like, they say to crack it open and pour it all the way, right? Just straight in because it's homebrew, to pour it straight into the glass and let the sediment and stuff. And they explain it. And I right there on the air, I'm like, nah, I know they said that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And I wasn't even thinking, and I should have known better because I've helped my friend brew beer before, and I've seen this happen where you pop it and those suds just go, bro. And so I crack it, I put it up to the screen, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh no, and it's going all over, and I'm slurping it down, and my wife was in there right behind me in that moment, and I made a cool, fun video out of it with just like this circus music in the background because I was just a clown. I mean, I'm like, and I'm struggling because it just keeps coming up. And rather than drinking it, I'm thinking I can dominate this. I'll win. If I just sip the foam, it'll work. And eventually I'm like, Angela, help me. And then I thought, how is she going to help me? Like reach over my shoulder and start slurping or what are we going to do? So the whole thing was a big fat joke, but I drank those on the show. I did 3 days a week because I was the reason in theology and meaning of Catholic, and so crushed those things within 2.5 weeks, and then had a couple speeches. And each one of these speeches, the guys were handing me beers and stuff, and so it was just one of those things where I said I need to slow it down. So the juice, right, that my wife made, and then I bought 2 different kinds of. It's actually liquor. Okay. So I've got myself this one. I was not necessarily the biggest fan of, and it's probably got sugars. I'm probably ruining the whole thing, but it's that Fireball cinnamon whiskey.
Yeah. I have some right there.
Yeah. So I got that, and then I was planning on lighting some candles and incense and stuff. And I bought some Cavassier, and so I was trying to get real fancy with.
Pass the Cavassier.
Yeah, I was trying to get fancy with that. And I have it. I put it together here. It's kind of hard to see in the dark here, but I have it's a White Horse Inn glass from the White Horse Inn, and my sister. You can't really see it because the lighting. Sorry about that. It's got the cool logo and everything on it. And I wrote down the ingredients. I'm glad you did that. I don't know if anybody. My handwriting is really small, so I don't know if anybody can read that. But that's what's in it. And so yeah. So that's a very detailed list. If you want to write that down real quick, grab a pen and paper. And
I'm trying to type it right now.
Yeah, 100% awesome. Yeah, you'll look that up, and it'll have a picture. It'll say, "Yeah, it's Jeremiah's White Horse Inn thing." Yeah.
That's his. Yeah, it's famous.
Already, it's a classic I just made up.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I know. It's funny. The other night I was going to add the Fireball. I had a little thing of it. And then I did look it up, and I shouldn't have, because I should have just drank it because it would have tasted good in the hot toddy. But they were like, yeah, Fireball, it's terrible for keto. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know how. And I don't look further. So it might not actually be. I don't know. I just take the little headline and be like, yeah.
No. It probably is. It tastes like candy. So, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't even really count. Have like 1 glass or 12.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just like avoid it like the plague. Just avoid it. Don't drink it.
There you go.
I'm probably wrecking my whole thing, but I plan on being on it for the long haul anyway. And so
I don't know what my wife will do. I'm in it until after like Epiphany. So I got, and this is old rehashing, but like I got really into intermittent fasting when I turned 40, and it helped me out a lot. Like spiritually, just to learn to say no to things. Like I didn't know that was like I could do that. But then it I plateaued, and then my wife decided leading up to Thanksgiving this year to just, we should just try it. We should try. I've heard about keto, and my wife's a doctor, and she's like, well, I don't know. It seems more, it doesn't seem as faddish in the sense of like, it's just body hacking. Like it makes sense. You don't have to store the carbs. You can burn the whatever, the car or whatever it is that you burn. So we've done it, and it's been really great for us both. I think she might plan on doing it long term. I don't. I plan on, like, once the holidays are over, just kind of going back to doing a 40-hour fast like a week, and then being nothing else.
So you did 40 hours. You did 40-hour fasts and stuff. Yep.
Yeah. In the last year, I would do like Sunday afternoon into Tuesday morning, and I wouldn't do it if it was difficult, because I have enough difficulty in life. There's too much case going on. So like I do it because it's super easy, and that's it. Like it and the amount that you're in like the fasted state or whatever, then it ends up being so long that it really helps a lot. So yeah, that's all. Anyway, enough about that.
I loved intermittent fasting. I started with the 16 and 8. And then made my way up to the 18-6, and then the 20 and 4 model. And then I tried the 24 hours a couple times. And I actually found that was harder than if I just went 3 days without food, because back years and years ago, I mean, I've gone 14 days before. I've done 12 days and 10. I've done that a lot. But that was years and years ago. And so, I'm older now. I find myself not nearly as excited about abstaining from food like that. And so making excuses, I'm like, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit like my belly's rumbling and tumbling. I think I need some food. It's like, dude, you ate like 4 hours ago, homie. You're not even fat. But, so I'm really bad about it now. But it's one of those things that was really, really great. And I really enjoyed doing 3 days. Like that to me was just hard enough. But the problem was not the fasting. The problem was, what do you do when you're done? Like I would fall right back into the same size meals, the same size everything, and I wouldn't allow for my body to, acclimate to the new thing I'm doing. So my stomach might be shrinking a little bit, but I'm right there ready to make it hurt. So, and that's
it's been weird with the keto again. Like I wish it had a different name, because everybody's like, yeah, I do keto, but like not having carbs all the time, I found that like when the weekends happen and like at Thanksgiving, I just felt terrible. Like I was trying to eat like I used to eat before we had stopped eating carbs. And I was feeling sick all the time. Like I didn't enjoy Thanksgiving meal nearly as close as I used to, because I had like, I don't enjoy any of the carbs, like the potatoes and stuff. They just don't taste like they used to. So that has been interesting. I didn't expect that. I don't know if that's like psychological or just bio, but anyway.
Interesting. It sounds like for both of you, the hardest thing about it is like coming back to eating regularly. Or, you said that, Nick, fasting for 40 hours was easy. In my mind, having never tried that, like that seems like that would be really difficult. Or when you said 14 days, dude, I'm like, that sounds impossible. And like that feels like it would just wreck you.
Well, it wrecked me because I decided coming back, it just worked out this way, right? It was a terrible thing, a perfect storm. So I'm done fasting. I'd done 14 days and was doing a great job. It was a powerful experience. And my roommate was like, hey, man, we're all going to Denny's, dude. And that girl that you kind of dig in college is coming. And I'm like, all right, sounds great. So we go to Denny's, man, at like 12 at night. And I'm sitting there and I'm seeing all the food. And I bought like the Grand Slam thing or whatever. So it's like a lot of food. I'm just pounding down large amounts of food. It was a skillet. But it was the one that's like, it's like the biggest skillet they've got. And just mounting it down. Man, I was in the bathroom seriously thinking I was dying. Like I'm not even joking, like where I'm like scared. There's no cell phones or nothing. I'm glad in a way. If there was, I would have called 911. I'd have been like, I'm dying, I think, right now. And they're like, no, you fasted for 14 days, you dummy. And then you went to Denny's.
And then you ate Denny's.
And you ate Denny's. Yeah. So not wise. But I think that's like one of those things, right? It's an ancient lesson with a lot of the saints when they talk about certain people who are very fervent. And I'm trying to avoid the word enthusiastic, because that word just simply, for anyone who watches my show, doesn't even have the same meaning anymore. But like the thing is people who are very fervent, and they're fasting and they're doing all of these like really strong mortifications, that there's a kind of deception, even self-deception to that, because it's the little things that kill. And the little things are things that they may really struggle with. Like, yeah, okay, I can do 14 days, but can I control myself when I eat?
Yeah. Right.
And so the issue is, do those little things and master those, because you're going to find that's why you want to know. I get nervous whenever I hear like, oh yeah, okay, the fasting for this season in the liturgical cycle is 2 small meals and 1 big one. And I'm like, 2 small meals? Like, can I just not eat it all? Like, because eating 2 small meals, everything inside of me is saying more. And you got to discipline that. You got to mortify that. And it's not easy.
That's amazing. Our right now, everything is set up for an obsession with self-mastery. Like, culturally speaking, there is this huge wave of self-mastery, with the diets, with the way people are exercising, with the way that they're structuring their day. Everyone's jumping onto the ex-Navy SEALs YouTube channels and like, how do I like gain more self-mastery? And who's not talking about it is like our priests and our bishops, and like we're not talking about it. Like, we have all of the age-old wisdom. We have, like you said, the rich tradition of the saints, and I feel like I largely just ignore them. I'm just largely ignorant as to what the saints have done and taught us about self-mastery. Like the greats, like Jose Maria Escriva and those saints who are just all about discipline and mastery.
And I feel like the problem with that then, because there's no like, we're not all sitting in the bath of knowledge of all that. Then we hear about ascetics and stuff, and all we think of is like, oh, those are the people who whip themselves and they just hate the body and blah, blah, blah. Like there's such an ignorance of, that's what I found for myself. Just being able to fast, like just being able to say no. Like I had never really been aware of how easy it is to say no to yourself and the spiritual implications. And so then it seemed like this whole new world. And you're like, yeah, but we've been doing that forever. I mean, like the Jewish fastings, like that's ancient. It's just that we're so far removed from it. But then again, all the channels are like inundated with the desire for self-mastery. So there's something in us that is really tired of being swung to the other side of just letting loose. Like we're like, as a society, as a culture, as a people, we're really tired of it. So we're longing for like the general who's like, make your bed right when you get up in the morning. And then like, I don't know, the 40% rule and like all of those things, we really crave them because we have no middle ground on it. Whereas the church should give the middle ground. But like Kevin said, priests don't really talk about it. Not to diss priests, because we're going to hear about that. But like just in general, it's not well understood.
Yeah, and it's not their job, to tell
right.
self-mastery all the time. They're, from the Sunday homily, and I think largely you hit it right on the head. It's like I think about myself. I'm like, you know what? Largely it is I'm attracted to those things because most days I just kind of feel like I suck. Oh man, I just kind of suck. And you guys both seem to have figured it out in the sense of you have to insert it into your life where you live right now, Nick and Paleo. You guys you have to just insert it. And for the whatever it's the intermittent fasting that you guys have been doing and the other things you've done, it's like, all right, I have to intentionally do this because no one's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
There's Father Mike one day was, because I got him into intermittent fasting, and then at one point he suggested an app. It's called Zero. And then he's like, you got to get Zero. It helps so much. And so I got it. And it's literally just an app that shows you like, okay, your fast has started. And it shows you how long you have, if you're doing 16-8, how long till it's done. And then when you go past it, it's like, hey, good job. You went past your, 16 hours. And I remember showing my wife and she was like, you guys need that?
Yeah, you need an app for that?
Yeah. To let me know when it's done. She's like, you can't do the math and just know when you can eat yet. And I was like, you should back off right now. This
Yeah.
But like the app itself, again, like what Kevin was saying, like to insert it into your life, to have like, I really want to eat anything in that pantry right now. And I can look at this app and be like, not yet. You can't. There's something about that ends up like habitualizing it, where then you do get to the point. I remember texting Kevin one time, 43 hours, man. And he was just like, why? And he didn't respond anything after that. Just like, why though? Why did you? Like, I hadn't explained to him, like I had not told him my journey. I just sent him a text saying, I haven't eaten in 43 hours. But there's something about once you get on that, it's not a kick. It's just like, wow, it is liberating to have some form of mastery over your body. Like that idea of integration, like integrity, where like suddenly your soul's got a little more foothold on your biology. So yeah, total side note. So good.
I have a question for our guest.
Yeah.
And it was really the only other scripted question. Maybe you were going to get there, Nick.
Yeah, go for it. That's what I was going to do. Yeah.
So on that note, you Mr. Dieters, I wanted to ask our only other scripted question, and that is, now truly, in as little or as much detail as you want, but not like the fluff of, hey, I'm doing great. How was your day?
My day was totally amazing, except I was tired. Like I ended up, every day I do my show, it's, I put a lot of energy into what I do. Like, I've shown a behind the scenes clip from when I did radio. I filled in for Kennedy Hall on the Kennedy Profession on Crusade Channel. And it was 2 hours, and it's just radio. So you don't need to worry about a camera. I had the camera set up though, because I wanted to share clips of video from what I did. And so I had it all set up and everything, just like I would for the show. And when it was all done, the camera was still rolling, and I wasn't really thinking about it. And I'm taking off my shirt, or not my shirt, but my coat. Yeah, I'm taking off my shirt. I'm looking like Fabio, all oiled up.
So here we go.
Yeah, here we go, boys. You asked how you asked.
This suddenly became that kind of show.
Yeah. So like, but I'm taking off the jacket and I've got my shirt on underneath, and it's a kind of a off-white collared shirt with these little kind of polka dots like this, but they're pink, and you could see my skin through the sleeve, through part of my upper chest here. When I turned around, my whole back was just drenched in sweat, and I'm sitting there, and you can see it. I'm wiping it off my face and stuff, and I'm like, I'm so intense when I'm on the air like that, and it's just boom, 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 boom for 2 hours, just go. And it doesn't let up very much. Like you have to let up to let people breathe a little, but then you're right back at it again. And they're like, woo, it's like a crazy roller coaster. So when I do the show, I will inevitably end up getting tired. And so I took a nap. I don't like taking, I enjoy them, but I don't like the loss of time. Other than that, though, it was totally awesome. For one, I love what I do. And I know I'm not going to talk too much about my work, unless it comes up later, but like, I genuinely do. I can legitimately say this. I love what I do, and I genuinely, passionately love what I do. So I do what I love, and I love what I do, and that's how it works for me. And so every day for me is like, Pee-wee's Playhouse a little. Like it's just a marvelous wonderland of wonder, and so like the people I meet, the people I get to talk to, the friendships I get to make, the topics I get to discuss, the laughter that we all have and stuff. And it's great. And then when the camera's off and the lights go off, I have something even better. I've got my 5 kids, and I've got my beautiful, mega hot, half Korean beauty queen wife /
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
안녕하세요.
Yes, man. Yeah, so she has been learning Korean. She has an app, but we also took a class as a family. I kind of sucked at it, but I did my best. And so I don't remember too much. I remember, like, for example, kape, that it's coffee. It's like, what? You remember that? And I'm like, of course I do. What are you talking about? Of course. if I forgot that, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so, but she watches like a lot of Korean shows. Like her favorite is Running Man. So she loves it.
Love Crash Landing on You. Please tell me she loves Crash Landing on You.
I don't know, because I don't watch all of them. I watch some, and so we like watching even like Korean movies and stuff. And so she's really into that. But she was not born and raised there. She's born and raised here in the United States. So her interest in Korea didn't come till after we were married.
Yeah.
But her mother, on the other hand, was born and raised there. And so she ended up marrying my wife's dad, my father-in-law, ended up marrying him. He was an army guy, and he was over there. And she was a bartender, and there was a bunch of dudes. I mean, it's like right out of like an 80s movie, right? Like it was a bunch of guys there at the bar, and they're not treating her very good because she's real hot. I've seen pictures. I can say that. And so the apple did not fall far from the tree when it came to my wife. And so she's a very beautiful woman, and she's a bartender. And these guys were being real chumps. They were not being gentlemanly. Let's put it that way. And so her dad rolled up and was kind of did the, hey, gentlemen, is there a problem here kind of thing? And they're like, oh, no, we're out of here. And so they left. Well, it was, it wooed they ended up getting married, and she moved over here, learned English by watching soap operas. And so that was like the main way that she learned English.
Police Academy movies.
Yeah, Police Academy and soap operas. Like that's about it. And a Christmas story. And so like, the thing is, all 24 hours straight. But she, but she didn't really incorporate a lot of that into my wife's upbringing. And so they didn't speak Korean in the home. She rarely ever made Korean food because she was trying to integrate. She has no family living here. So
you're describing my mom's childhood right now.
I was going to ask Kevin, is this similar?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Her mom, my grandma is from Korea.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So we get to talk to them sometime. There's translating devices we use. They also have a family over there that can translate for us when we call and talk and stuff. And my wife has never been there. However, that is a plan that we have. I talked to her about it, and I said that we're already setting stuff aside. I said, because I know how badly she wants to go, and I want to be there with her. And so we're gonna go over there. I'm not sure when. I expect it'll be within the next probably 1.5 to 2 years. We'll make our way over there. maybe sooner, depending on the grandmother, because she's much older. And but I get to spend my time at home with them, and they're amazing kids. They go to this amazing classical Catholic school. So I'll sit in here, and I'm hearing them recite long form poetry. I'm hearing them debate declensions in Latin and stuff, and I'm just blown away by it. My kids, and then I got two real little ones, little Louie and Big Wolf. Little Louie's older than Big Wolf, but Big Wolf is a big.
Is that where Wolfpack comes from?
No, but it plays into it a little bit. It started kind of that way. It was basically I created a song called the Wolfgang song. I was just on a garage band one night, and I'm just playing around with music and stuff. And I made this song called the Wolfgang song. It was just fun. Like, it's just goofy, kind of silly, but also intense a little bit. And I was doing a live show at the time, and I wanted to play this for people. But then I started thinking, like, it is inspired by him, but I'm like, it kind of is like, it would sound better if it was the Wolfpack song. And so I called it the Wolfpack song. And I started using it as the transition in my old show, because the first 45 minutes would be responding to, like, I would read articles, let's say by the Babylon Bee, but I would treat them like they're real. And not in the ironic way that they turn out many times to be, but I mean, like, that these are true, legit, real stories. And I would theorize about what this is really going on. Or I would read about, I'd talk about stories, TikTok videos, or stories about animals like bears that were on top of a police car or whatever. And how the bears have finally figured it out, that they've developed in such a way that now they're coordinating to take over. And I called it the Great Animal Uprising of 2020. And so, like, just ridiculous nonsense. And then after that, I would make a transition into a serious, another hour of the show, hour and a half of the show that was serious, that talked about politics, religion, and political economy, and religion, political economy, history, stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. But that song, it was so cool, and it was just like bumping. Like, the first time I saw it, I said, there's something missing from that. I said, it sounds cool, but I'm just sitting there bobbing my head, like, what's up? Who cares? And I said, well, I'm going to start drinking my coffee through a straw, like that. I'm psyched about drinking this coffee straight to the dome, and we're going to howl at the sun, SON, right? We're going to start using this as a thing that says, okay, we're going to commit right now that we're going to give it our best today. We've had our fun, and now we're going to get serious for a minute, but we're going to commit right now to give it everything we've got. And we're going to do it with this thing where we're howling at the sun. And I started telling people, I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're working. I don't care if, no matter where you are, no matter who's around you, just howl, give it everything you got. Don't be afraid anymore. Don't be ashamed anymore of this. I said, because we have Christ as our King. And this is us crying out to heaven, because we're living in bad times. And so I started doing that. Well, people started sending, like, pictures and videos and stuff of themselves, like, in public, like, howling at the sun in their cars, howling, and they'd have their coffee, and they're like, woo, and they're listening to the song in the background. So I made, like, a compilation video, and I matched it with the song, and it just became the Wolfpack. Like, that just is big. So that's how it became that way. But the kids, so I get to chill with them. And tonight, this last thing I'll say, tonight we played a game. I forget what it's called, where you put that thing in your mouth and it opens it up really wide, and it's like mouth it or something like that. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
But man, it was hilarious. I have some clips I'll share over at the Wolfpack chat on Telegram. I'll share those, not tonight, but tomorrow. But it's hilarious. I mean, but that's my life, And so, even when it's hard, it's there's only a couple things in my life that I can imagine that would really be so hard that it'd be worse than what I've already experienced. Like, I know my mother and my father will die, and I know that that's going to be really hard for me. I know that my grandmother will die. She's 92 right now. That's, I know that on that day, my kids will see me cry in ways that they haven't seen me cry in a very long time. But my daughter died of brain cancer at 12. And I told Nick, I said, I sit right now, this chair, I am sitting in the place where this room is where she died. So, like, in Michigan, there's no place for the kids to no hospice for children. And so if a kid is dying, they're either going to die in the emergency room at the hospital where the lights are on and the machines are beeping at you and everything. And they come in every, like, half an hour, they're coming in. instead of once every hour or 2 hours, or you're going to be in your own home and you're going to be giving the medicine yourself to the child who can't even swallow on their own. You have to, it's a very, very painful, sad thing. And then when they die, they're in your house and you have to take care of them. You have to carry their body to the hearse in front of your home. And so I said, I decided when she passed away, I said, this is my office now. I said, all of my creative work, everything that I will do from here on out, I said, I'm going to park my chair and the closest approximation to the exact place where her heart beat for the very last time. And so I've made my home in it. This is my headquarters.
Wait. So the work you're doing now and the show that you have now was born from the death of your daughter, and that's why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, the death of my daughter, it's one of those things, man, like where it has such a dramatic impact, that kind of a thing. No matter who it is, if they're a decent person and they're a good dad, a loving father, it's going to dramatically impact them. And it can either impact them in a way that it destroys everything in their life. And I've seen men, fathers who lost children and they're now divorced. They're consumed. If you go to their Facebook page, every post is like, you just want to reach out and say, dude, let's talk. Like you need to move on past this. Like every post cannot be this. And because you are now your other kids, like you saying things like, with her gone, I have no reason for existing. And because it was his firstborn, I have one person particularly in mind because it was so devastating, the loss and stuff. He has like 2 or 3 other children.
Yeah.
And I said, if they read that, do you not? So it can go that way. And so for us, it took a while before I even got back to the place where I wanted to do creative work at all, and where I wanted to do writing, or whether I was getting back into writing because I went to school for journalism and I'm a writer. I'm actually writing a book now, and I have an editor that's on my case to have it done by the end of December. And so that's one thing. I'm a poet, so I've written a lot of poetry. I've received an award for my poetry while in college. I received the top honors at the school for it, and I did radio and TV and blogging and YouTubing for many, many, many years, but I got away from it because of all that. And then after I came back to the church, it was this thing where I went like 16 months. The priest knew me and he knew what I went through. And he knew me from before all of that too. And he said, look, you need to take a year away. He said, I know financially you can do it. Take a year away. Let's get away. And go to church and frequent the sacraments as often as you can. Read the Bible as often as you can. Spend as much time with your kids, pray with them as often as you can. And I did it for 16 months. And I only came out of that because we started sending them to a classical Catholic school, and the school was doing a fundraiser, and people knew that I used to do this kind of thing. And it was the last day of the fundraiser. And they said, can you please make a video? And I said, sure. And so I said, I guess, so I made a video. And it's available on my YouTube channel right now at Paleocrat. It's the one about atheist family converts to the Catholic faith after daughter's death.
That was you.
Go ahead.
That was you. You were the atheist.
Yes, I was the atheist. Yes, and I was an apostate. I was an apostate. So and the very shorthand version. Raised Pentecostal charismatic, became a Calvinist for 10 years, went to seminary, worked mainly in politics, served as a pastor for a short time in an ecumenical youth person connecting youth groups and stuff in a town. Served as a pastor, got involved in TV, radio, and blogging, started to debate publicly online back in the early days of the blogosphere. Catholic people, I had a real heart for them because they were idolaters who worshipped Mary and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I debated them. And after a year, I walked into the room where my wife was sleeping, and I told her, a year and a half almost. And I walked in and I knelt by the bed and said, I'm becoming Catholic. I said, if you want to drive to church, you can have the car. I said, but if I have to crawl to church, I'm going to go to mass. And she said, where you go, I go, Jeremiah. She said, look, I've seen you for a year and a half fight against this, and you tried with everything inside. And she's like, and you're a valiant man. She's like, you give everything you've got. You try super hard. And she said, I've watched you cry. I've seen you go through weird cycles through this whole experience. And she said, I know that you're leading us in the right way. I trust you. And so I went to church that day. I got involved in various things, including being a contributing editor at the Distributor's Review. I did TV, of course, and radio. But then after about 4 years, I became a sedevacantist. And I got really, really frustrated by things that were going on in the church. And I allowed that to really affect me. And
wow.
I became a sedevacantist. And I was a sedevacantist for a while. I tried coming back, because I was like, I can't, this is bad, right? This is no good. So I tried coming back, and I couldn't. And I found myself not going to church, not praying anymore.
About what year? When you
what year was that?
Late 2010, I think, is when I started to, about 2010 is when that happened. And so, because I have some videos of interviews that I did in 2010, if I remember correctly, that had to do with that. And so, I fell away, and for about 6.5 years, 7 years almost, I was a very outspoken atheist, and I did speeches at colleges, organizations, groups, things like that, advocacy groups, at award ceremonies and stuff. And so I did that even high schools. Like I was a speaker for high school clubs and stuff. They'd invite me in because I was listed with the Secular Student Alliance. I had a special profile with them. And then I was on the state board for one of the largest atheist organizations in the state of Michigan, Center for Inquiry. And then my daughter got cancer. And, so fast forward, she dies, and end up making my way through a number of different things, mainly focused with my children, asking these really ingenious questions that they didn't understand the profundity of it all. The questions they were asking and who they were asking them to. And it wasn't until my son Ambrose, because my children, funny enough, they're named Athanasius, Ambrose, and Teresa Avila Lucille.
Oh, let's go.
So yeah, let's go. Right. So they're but they don't know, because now Samantha remembered being raised in church, but they didn't. And they were all baptized. They're all, they went to church when they were really little. And they started asking these questions, and Ambrose told me that he prayed. He told me secretly in his room. And I was really upset. I called a family meeting immediately. I was wondering if they were talking to each other and stuff, and they were very confused by me. And then they started asking questions they said, we'd like to see churches, what different people believe. And so I showed them a bunch of different denominations that our family's affiliated with, because we have different denominations, a large family and stuff. And so I showed them, and they thought it was all funny, which was a relief to me, because I was already disturbed enough by all this. But then my son Ambrose again said, Papa, are we Catholic? And I'm like, oh boy, this is actually an interesting question. So I showed them the Latin Mass, and I showed them a divine liturgy with the East. And it was the first time that they didn't laugh. And they were fascinated. And then my son, again, Ambrose, said, Papa, can we go to that Christmas Eve Mass that you go to? Because when I was an atheist, I'd still go to Christmas Vigil every year. And so I secretly, I'd go by myself, or my daughter would go with me. That's it, And then the priest would always come up. I've never seen you before. I had long hair and a lip ring and a nose ring and stuff. And I'm like, and you shall not until next year. But, see you later. And so, but for some reason, I couldn't get away. And so we said we could. And because he wanted to go where his godmother was, because she was always sending these little ornaments for Christmas. And every year she sends another piece, right? And that year she sent on accident a duplicate. And so they had to call her to say, hey, we got a duplicate and stuff. Well, she invited us to church, and he heard about it. So he said, can we go to the church with her and stuff? And I said, yeah, sure. Now I'm thinking, because we moved between when we were Catholic before, where we first met her, and all these years later. So I'm thinking she's back an hour and a half away in this other city. And I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm all thinking I'm sly. And I'm like, yeah. I said, well, we're going to get out of that. I said, we don't have to go. I said, that's a Kalamazoo. And she goes, they moved to Grand Rapids. I'm like, no. What are the odds of this? So it's in my town. And I said, maybe the weather will be bad. No, it was not. It was not bad. So we end up going to the church and we walk in, and it's the last part of it really, that we get there and I hear the gling gling, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, all right, yeah. So we're all standing up, and I'm waiting for like some hymn, you know what I mean? And no, it's
in the proud and the lowly.
yeah. And it's like, nope, that's not what it was. It was Gregorian chant, and I said that's really rare. And all of a sudden, I see the altar servers walk by, and they're all dudes, and they're all dressed very wonderfully in very traditional vestments. And I'm like, well, that's strange. I said, where's the potato sack Sally chick? I mean, you always got this. And so that didn't happen.
Okay. All right.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? I mean, the real frumpy dumpy things. They wear their frown as a gown, and so like that's kind of the thing. So there's none of that, right? And so then we go by, and I start smelling the incense, and I'm like, where am I? Like, what is this place? And then all of a sudden, the priest walks by, and it's the priest that I had before we left.
No
way.
And he's the only priest when my daughter had cancer who came to the hospital to pray. He's the only cleric of any kind. There's no pastor, no nothing. It was him. That's
what happened to you in that moment when you saw him? Anything?
Yeah, like fear. like I'm like, I hope he doesn't see me. But that fear only lasted for a little while until it turned to dread, because all of a sudden he'd look me right in the eyeballs, and I could see that he was feeling something too, like, whoa. And because, I mean, we knew each other, and he saw me. And so as soon as it was over, I should have expected it, but for some reason I didn't. So they sent one of the altar boys out, and they said, go get Mary Jo. And they said, you tell Mary Jo that she needs to send Jeremiah back here now. And I'm like, so the priest, the guy comes up, and he's like, you're Mr. Bannister? And I said, yeah. And he's like, Father Sirico wants to talk to you. And I'm like, oh man. So I go back there, and he just straight up tells me, he's like, you're the last person in all the world I ever thought I would see in church again. And I said, if it's any consolation, you are the last priest I ever thought I would see in a church that if I ever did go, you would be there. So tit for tat, we're even Stevens, right? And he said, welcome home, prodigal son. And he hugged me, and I was not prepared to come back. I was not prepared, but my kids were. And I tried to tell them, I said, there's no candy next week, because they got candy on Christmas Vigil. And I said, there's no candy next week, man. And they said they didn't care. They wanted to go back. And then they wanted to go back again and again. And we just never stopped. So like, that's how it started. And that was the Christmas of 2017. And so we never stopped going. And my kids now go to the school there where they have mass beginning every single day. So they have mass at the beginning of every school day. They have nuns in there and stuff, and they've got, visiting friars and such. Like it's an amazing place, very traditional. It celebrates both the ordinary and extraordinary form, and it does both of them beautifully. And I share some of the audios, like from our the choir that we have. It's remarkable. It's heavenly. And so the whole culture there is powerful, and it really transforms people's lives. And so we're really grateful to be part of that. And the last thing I'll say, my kids, they saw everybody going up for communion, and they were like, my son, he leans over and he's like, Papa, what are they doing right now? And I said, they're going to communion. And he's like, well, can we go up there? And I said, no. Why not? Well, you need to go to catechism class, dude. What's that? Don't worry about it. I'm like, just, be quiet. And he's like, well, did you go there? And I said, yes, of course. He said, well, why don't you go? And I said, well, you have to go to confession. And he goes, well, why don't you do that?
Holy shit.
And I'm like, dude, okay. So I go home, and my wife says, she's making dinner, and she says, hey, Jeremiah, come in here real quick. And I went in, and she goes, Jeremiah, we should go to confession. And I said, I'll take that as a second witness, and it's sufficient for me. And so it was just, but that's the overarching, those are the main points through the story. And the rest of it is going to be So it's already out there online. I mean, people can, if they are interested in seeing and stuff. But that's what I'm writing my book about. I'm writing my book about my daughter's remarkable, amazing life. She was a diva, and people loved her. I mean, she was just an amazing person, and the tragic death, right? And then how that and those events ultimately led our entire family back to the Catholic Church on Christmas Eve. And so that is what my novel is. I'm writing it like a novel. So I'm writing it as a story, charming and beautiful and tragic and terrible. All of those things, because all of those things led us to where we are now. So that's why I say when I said you asked how my day was, it's the longest answer for how my day was I think I've ever given. But that's, it's like when you experience that kind of thing, even if I had something bad happen, like what's worse? I mean, like, so I kind of look at it in a way as a curious blessing in disguise, and I can say blessing in disguise because I believe that I'll see her again. And so if I didn't believe that, it would be a terrible thing. If I thought she was just bones and rotting flesh, worms eating away at her, that would be a terrible thing. But I don't believe that. And so even those things that come up against me, plus I look and say, man, she's the person who gave us the motto of never give up, keep on smiling, and remember that you're going to die. And she had childhood brain cancer, and she's smiling the whole way through. Never asks why me, not once. And I said, and she dies with a smile on her face. And I said, how can I be too bummed even if I had a bad day? I mean, I'd tell you if I did, because I still have sad days and bad things happen and stuff. I'm not, it's not impenetrable, this amazing little world we've got going here. But at the same time, it's like some people have a high threshold for pain. I think I've got a really high threshold for like stuff that can happen to me before it really like starts showing in my face. Like, because and like coming from my heart, like I don't have to put on a fake face. Like it's what it is. And so I had an awesome day, and I got to cap it off being with you guys so far.
Dude, my fingers are like that whole, like your whole life testimony, like makes you want to like dunk a basketball or like go off a huge bike jump or something. I'm just like,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the end of the world where you get to see what God and what Mary did through your daughter's suffering, and you get to see how it saved your whole freaking family.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to get to freaking see it. I'm going to see it. Nick's going to see it. It's not going to be hidden anymore.
Yeah, and Haley in the comments, she says, and that's not even the whole thing. It's not even close, is it, Haley? She knows. Yeah, Haley knows. She knows. And, it's like, it's this thing, I marvel at it. And I marvel at the things like, for example, I don't know if you can see behind me. Let me see if I can kind of aim it up a little bit. That's Our Lady of Mount Carmel up there. That was in a sacristy, and that was given to me years ago by, let me aim it up there. There you go. Yep. So that was given to me by that same priest. And even when I was an atheist in my office, it was in my office. And atheist people would always ask, why is that there? And I thought it was a beautiful statue no matter what. But it was always around. And the godmother had given us, when they came to the hospital to pray over my daughter, they gave us this chaplet. And it was a little flower chaplet. And I was so upset at them even being there, that because they weren't invited. They just came. And he asked, the priest was very kind. He came in, he was afraid Samantha wouldn't remember him. And she goes, oh no, you called me Fire Toes. Because she had the little sandals with the blinkers on them, the little red lights and stuff. So he would call her Fire Toes all the time. And she remembered that. And he said, you have a good brain. And she said, I have brain cancer. And he said, I know. He said, that's why I'm here. And so he asked my permission to pray over her. But she was, 10 years old, and she's like this sagacious little girl. I mean, she's extraordinarily brilliant as an individual. And so I'm thinking, well, I'm going to defer. I'm just going to let her, because she also loves me, right? Like she's a daddy's girl. And I said, she's going to say no. No, she said yes. so he said, can I pray over you? And she's like, I would like that. I'm like, oh no. So as they're leaving, the godmother comes up and she tells me, she's like, she comes up and she's patting my face, you know, this lovingly endearing thing, and everything inside of me is angry. And she goes, I know you're mad at God, and I know that you don't understand this, but you have to know that God loves you and Our Lady loves you. And she said, I want to give you something. And she gave me a chaplet that when her son died, another very untimely and tragic death, that she prayed this chaplet, right? And she was daring, pulled a Gideon, and said, look, I'm sorry to say this, I want to sign, I want to know my son's okay. And it was a powerful story that went along with it, and it was a really moving thing. But she didn't tell me at the time about that. In fact, I didn't even know that she prayed that chaplet at all. And so she handed it to me, and she said, I have something for you. And she said, here, she said, this is for you, you know, for when you need it, kind of thing. And it's a little chaplet baggie, you know, and stuff in it. I didn't touch it, man, but I had a little glass jar that had all these scapulars and crosses and keepsakes and stuff in it that I kept over the years and just kind of built up. And so it was in there. And when we went on Christmas Eve, I can't even to this day, I can't really tell you why I was looking for even a rosary. Like, what was I thinking? Like, I hadn't prayed a rosary in 7 years. I don't even know if I planned on praying it, but just having it like there for some reason. Well, I couldn't find one, but I found these beads, and I'm like, what is this thing? So I put it in my pocket. We go to the church, and I'd forgotten that she'd given it to me, because that was like early on with the cancer. So it was, you know, just years go by. And wasn't processing this. So after it was over, I was fumbling through the beads, like through the service, and I didn't know what it was exactly. And I go up to the godmother afterward, and I said, do you know what this is? And I was totally like oblivious to what had happened, because when you're in the hospital too, you know, you're not thinking, you're seeing a lot of people. There was hundreds of people coming in and out all the time to see my daughter. And so that her handing that to me, I didn't put those dots together. So here I am asking, because she's a Catholic, she would know. And I'm forgetting that she's the one who gave it to me. And she's like, Jeremiah, that is the little flower chaplet of Saint Therese of Lisieux. She said, I gave that. And she's like weeping, and she's like, she's a little Italian lady. She's like 4'10", you know, and she's shaking my hand. And she goes, I gave that to you in the hospital. And she said, because I told you that your relationship with your daughter reminded me of the relationship that Saint Therese had with her dad. And I told you that you would need it for a certain day. And she said, I believe that your daughter is raining down flowers from heaven. And she said, I believe that this is proof. And I sat there. I still wasn't there, remember? This is before I even talked to the priest. So this is like, I haven't even talked to him yet, right? So I'm not even in that zone. And I'm like, what a strange coinky dink. You know, I'm not seeing little miracles yet. I'm still chalking it up to, wow, that's really strange. And so, you know, it's just, but it's one of those things, man, where that little flower chapel, right? And the role of Our Lady, the role of saints who had special devotions to Our Lady, images of Our Lady, you know, and people that our Lord put in our lives. It's remarkable. And looking in hindsight, you get to the point, man, where, you know, I understand. I could say any of this stuff, and, you know, a hard-headed atheist like I used to be could say, oh, that you're calling it a little miracle. They could put it on a scale of probability and say, well, probabilistically, it has this percentage of happening. And I'm like, that's the story. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's obviously, you know, just a coincidence, you know. And so that's just the way they are. And I said, but you know what? I said, to me and mine, man, that's a little miracle that we hold real close to home. And so, yeah, man. So yes, it's going to be amazing to see how God was there and present, and Our Lady was there and present in so many situations that living through them in the moment, you don't even see. You have no clue. And so really grateful for it. Yeah. And I lost you. I can't hear you at all. I can't hear you.
How about that?
That I can hear you now.
I had when I was heating up the tea kettle, I hit mute. I forgot about it. What was your daughter's name?
Samantha Lee.
Samantha Lee. Okay.
Yeah.
And she passed away. When was that?
2016.
16.
Yep. July 17th, because she died on July 17th and her funeral is on my wife's birthday. And so that's a really tough thing every year, that season of our life. But it's also the day when I started meaning of Catholic. And so it's like one of those things where there's it's bittersweet, right? Like strange bedfellows that you have along your journey in your life.
So I teach an online course for a Catholic high school in Duluth, Minnesota. I teach an apologetics class, and I teach on Tuesdays. Well, Monday morning, we got an email that one of the students there, one of my 11th graders, her 18-year-old sister had a seizure in the night, and when they all got up to get ready for school, she was gone. She had passed away.
Wow.
And I had never even met this young lady, but it just rocked our family. And you can't, as a dad, you can't fathom what that's like if you haven't gone through it. I can't. I still have my 5 children. I look at them and I can't. Your brain can pretend to understand, but it can't fathom. It can't go there. And I was really appreciative. They sent out an email to all the teachers and everybody who would be in contact with them, and it said this: we mourn the sudden loss of so and so, beloved daughter of God. So many are asking, what can we do? How can we help? In speaking with a dear friend who tragically lost their 20-year-old son several years ago, her advice was this. And I was so thankful for this email because we've never experienced this before. It just said, there is no book, flower, poem, or angel statue that can help. They will literally be in shock for the next 30 days. What they need is continuous prayer for the sorrow to be lifted off them. Make sure that they know they are being continuously prayed for. That is the most important thing. And I thought of you because I didn't know your whole background. I didn't know the whole story. And again, like Haley said, we just haven't gotten the whole story tonight, but I do know this from having spoken to you, that you have an entire group of people who day in, day out pray for people by name.
Yes.
And so I did want to, like, I know all of our comment section are your followers tonight. Interview's not over, episode's not over, but since you brought that up, I wanted to, her name is Grace, and pray for Grace, who has passed on, and then her family as well, because I know that your followers will. And if that is the thing that gets through, if that is the thing that carries somebody through this, not cards or small angels or whatever, but just the prayers of the body of Christ. I did want to posit that to your people to see if they would just pray for Grace and her family.
Well, I want to say something though about it. I don't want to be disagreeable, but let me just say that sometimes that little angel might end up being the little flower chaplain. Right. And so sometimes those things, but that little flower chaplet only mattered the way it mattered because that little Italian godmother is a prayer warrior. I mean, she's radical about prayer, right? She's the one who does all the events they call them the little flowers appropriately enough, at the church. And it's the girls who get together and they do very girly things, girly events and everything. And then they pray a rosary every single event they have. And so they learn the memorare, they learn, so they learn a lot of these things. And so if it's coupled with that, if the emphasis is prayer and you're genuinely on your knees, when you say that I've got a group of people, I'm glad that you mentioned this, man. They are.
Yeah, I didn't want to forget that.
Outside of my family, they're my pride and joy for real. Like, I'm not even lying about it. They're the closest thing to family in the world, because every single day, they are praying. In fact, Hallelujah in the comment section here, she's the admin of our prayer chain. and she does such a remarkable job. She assembles them. She goes through the comments. She puts. I showed you yesterday, right? I showed you. You've seen it. She put a list. It went up to like what 80 something, and then she stopped putting numbers by them. Like, and I told you I had to tell her. I'm telling her now, Haley. there are a bunch of prayer requests, and you stop the numbers. We got to get the numbers back. And but she does such an amazing job, and we keep them together that way because everybody who's in there, those people are able to access that list, and they keep people in prayers. And you'll see people who say that it's their favorite thing about us. And I committed early on. I said, if my program is nothing else except a wolf pack of prayer, then mission accomplished. That's it. I don't care if we stick with 700 people per show. If it's less than that, I don't even care. If we are literally making good on our promises to raise people's names and concerns up to heaven, to howl that to heaven to the Lord and say, God, we are asking for your mercy for these people. We are asking for your guidance for these people and your blessing on their lives, especially when they're going through the ringer. I mean, they're really struggling, and they're going through stuff that is just absolutely devastating. That if we show that we are truly there genuinely, and we do it, we say, look, there's not even speculation. You don't even have to trust us. We record it. So we not only record the prayer requests that people have to follow up too. We followed up on people. We followed up on one. This guy said he asked us to pray because his wife was having a baby, and we didn't hear anything. And I'm like, he said, so we kept getting on his case, and he's like, and he jokingly said he's part of the group, and he's like, are you guys stalking me or something? Like, he's like, because everybody was concerned. And finally, he's like, no, we still haven't. She's still in labor. It's a home birth, and it's the first time we're doing this. We got a midwife and stuff. And so I just finally, I had it. I said, we're praying her through it, guys, today. We're doing it right now. We're going to pray this chick right through it. We're going to make sure that Taylor has this baby, and we're going to pray this baby out. I said, it's our first Wolfpack Cub. We're going to do it. And we prayed. It was like 24 hours later, homeboy goes on the chat and says, you guys really did it. He's like, my wife had the kid. His name's Alphonsus. And I'm like, it seems appropriate. It happens to be my Catholic name. So I'm like, Jeremiah Alphonsus Maria. So I said, but I told him, though, he has to add some variant of Our Lady in there. Right. I said, because Alphonsus is a Marian saint, man. You can't avoid that. I said, so Alphonsus Maria doesn't matter. And so, but that's one example. Another one, a guy, Andrew Stahl, his stepdad got COVID. His stepdad's older, got COVID. It got really bad to the point where they believed he was going to die, and he still may, right? But the thing is that he lives in Ohio, Andrew does, and he had to get it all the way over to El Paso, Texas. But he has 5 kids and a wife.
Oh man!
But it's an emergency, so he has to buy a plane ticket quick, like right now, and get out there. Well, that means that he can't buy it for everybody. He doesn't have the money. So what does he do? He buys it. He tells his family, look, pray for me. And he goes into the Wolf Pack and tells us and says, guys, I need you to pray, like for real. We do an emergency prayer meeting that night. Like right that night, we popped it up. We prayed our Lady of Sorrows rosary for him. And every day after that, praying and asking if there's updates and praying more and praying more. And we got a notification today during the show is when I was notified. And they copied and pasted in the comments. And they said that he's so grateful for our prayers, and that his stepdad is still on the ventilation, but they're not sedating him anymore. That they believe that he's getting good enough to no longer be sedated, and they're going to try to get him to a BiPAP. So they're going to try to get him to that. And he's like, keep going, guys, keep doing this. These are people who not only need prayer, but genuinely believe that if they come into this group and they ask us, that they not only can be assured of that, but they can listen as we do it, they can watch as we do it, and they can pray along with the others that are praying along in that, having it on their MP3s, listening to it in their cars and their headphones while they're at work, working out at the gym, and people are genuinely praying. And God is doing amazing things through this group. And so
Incredible.
I can all day long, I'll sing the praises of the Wolf Pack. The Wolf Pack is where it's at. And I love them like family for real. Like, and I tell them, I say, look, I know that I founded it. It's Paleocrat Diaries Wolf Pack. My name's on it. but I said, I'm not your leader. Like I'm not coming down the mountain. I joke around about people coming down the mountain with, their 10 commandments made out of paper mache scribbled with crayon, telling everybody how to live their life and stuff. I said, I'm not that guy. I'm literally your brother in the Lord who has struggles just like you. I love learning. I love laughing. I'm glad to be alive. And I just want to love others and to be loved because we're loved by him. And I said, if we can just come together that way and realize that that's the way it is. I mean, they call me the Kaiser, right, as a joke, but I am the Kaiser there, right? Like I am the Kaiser, But at the same time, it's the kind of thing where it's like, look, he's literally my friend. It's not like, oh, he's a host on a show and he's thundering the truths to us and we're all just accepting. We're in this together, and their help. And I told them, I said, you don't realize that I am learning more from you than you are from me. You tune into my show and I talk about one thing. There are a bunch of you. So you're all saying you're learning from one guy. Okay, good. One dude is now looking back at you and learning from all of you and reminding you that because we're together, we're all learning from each other. And I said, dude, we're in this together, folks. Like, this is not even a joke. So yes, we will definitely, there's not even a doubt that we will pray for grace. We'll make good on that. Because
family, like, just like, I didn't know that Nick was. I wasn't gonna bring that up tonight because it's all so raw still. But yeah, that family needs just like the heavens to be stormed in prayer for them and all the rest of their kids.
I'll tell you one of the things from my experience, and it's not the same with everybody, but just from mine with tragedy like this. You're right, Kevin. About people they can think that they understand, but most people don't even try. They'll admit that. They'll say, like, because they dread even thinking of it for themselves. Like, that's a nightmare. It's like panic attack land to think that way. So they're like, I don't even want to think about it. Like, much less live through it like you did. Walk in a room and there's your daughter on a bed. Like, I mean, holy cow, what do you do? And so, but one of the things that my wife and we both agreed on was that sometimes there's it's a good intention that people have, and they are correct about it. But when they kind of just assure you that everything is okay and that God's in control, and it's for a reason, all of that's true. But I've learned in my life one thing that helped me, and I tell people when they come to me, because I get a lot of this now where people, they go through hard times. And I said it on the show about a couple weeks ago. It was a really emotional segment. I said, look, when you're going through a hard time, I said, get mad. I said, get as mad as you can. I said, literally grind your teeth till you're afraid they're going to crack. I said, get on your knees and pound that earth. Pound it as hard as you can. Shake your fist up to heaven, cry, growl, say, why me? And then reach in your pocket and pull out that crucifix and look at the man. I said, because you will realize in that moment that you ain't going through jack. I said, because there's nothing that can compare to that. But that allows you also to say, you have the right to be devastated. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be confused and say, God, how could you allow this to happen? And I don't want to make people say, look, I don't want to be the guy that's like, no, it's okay. You're good. You're good. No, they lost somebody, man. That is going to stick with them. And they're going to be driving along and hear some song in a car. And next thing you know, they're going to be crying so bad they can't even drive anymore. You can't look somebody in the face like that with a sincere heart and say, dude, just look, everything's legit. No.
Yeah, there's like, what am I going to offer? I can't say anything. Yeah. Like, I should say nothing. That's better.
Because it isn't good. When you want to say, well, no, it's all good, it's all right. No, it isn't. I mean, Jesus wept when Lazarus was dead because it isn't good. It isn't fundamentally good. It's the fractured nature of what we live in. So it doesn't help at all to add a lie to it just to try to make things quiet and good. So,
and in fairness to those people too, like those people genuinely normally care, right? I mean, you got some people that they like to feel good for themselves, but most of the time, if they show up to your house and they're talking to you, it took time to get in the car and drive. You know what I mean? Like they're there. They're probably nervous to get there. And they, like everybody else, man, they're probably scared that they're walking on holy ground as it is. because they don't know how to deal with it, man. Do I need to take my shoes off talking to you? I have people that are afraid to talk to me about things they disagree with because they're like, look, you kind of are swaddled in this thing with your daughter and stuff. And like, it's, I'm like, bro, I'm a guy. Like, I'm a dude. You need to confront me if you think I'm wrong about something. Come on, homie. Like, let's be legit with each other. But at the same time, to just if somebody says, you know what, no, I don't understand this, that, you know what, it's actually better sometimes not to try to have a good theological argument as to how you can rationalize bad things happening to good people and, good things happening to bad people, but just to legitimately be there for that person and to let them know maybe they don't even want to be around you that day, but they may want to be around you later. So don't take it personally. And instead just say, look, man, I love you for real. I really do. And prove it. Prove it by being there. Prove it by not being afraid to talk to them like man to man or woman to woman. Don't be afraid. And to level with them. If you see something you fear, level with them for real. And it's okay, because they may need that. They're traumatized, man. Like, trauma is not a state of mind that's for like clear thinking. I mean, like, yeah, I came to this epiphany when I was traumatized. Like, maybe, I mean, it's like coming to an epiphany on shrooms and a bad trip or something. I mean, like, but it happens, I guess, sometimes. But like, it's one of those things that they really need to know, just that you're simply there, and that you're going to accept that in certain ways they may live the rest of their life with a limp, and you have to assure them not only that it's okay, but that at the end of the day you can say, we all kind of do a little, not the same. Your tragedy is your tragedy. I haven't experienced that, and I don't want to say that they're all even Stevens.
Well, I mean, it's kind of summed up in the fact that Christ bore his wounds after the resurrection. I mean, the fact that he could walk into a room and be resurrected and still say, okay, well, if you want to touch my wounds, they're still here. Like, the scars were still there. And those aren't supposed to go away. Like that's not in his plan. They didn't go away for Christ. They're not going to go away for us. The difference being, because I was talking to my class recently, and they were like, well, but when it comes to the immense wave of human suffering that exists in any given nanosecond of human history, what do you do with that? The end, I mean, this isn't something you say to somebody in the moment, but we can also know that at the worst moment in history where humanity overcame and murdered God, that darkest of moments became the greatest redemption for all humanity because of what God can do through things. And so, like, it doesn't, none of the darkness was made easier. Christ's death wasn't made easier, and nobody who has offered suffering since, it doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it more understandable in the moment. It doesn't make the pain any less. But it also can add the veneer of hope that at some point there's nothing God can't use. And that, again, that's not saying that's something you say to somebody in the moment, but it is also sort of the anchor of our hope that, if because somewhere in the catechism, I was just reading for my class, it talks about when, at the moment when grace was about to vanquish and conquer, is when all of sin reared its head, all darkness reared its head. And like, so there wasn't just like sinful, weak people. There was full on violence and hatred going on the night of the crucifixion. Like, all the evil just let loose in the moment that grace was about to abound. And because of that, because of what Christ did, we can all enter into that moment, that like we can be in the darkest and it's still dark. It's still, and to varying degrees. I've never experienced that. God willing, I won't, but I might. But everybody has had moments of darkness, but with what Christ can do, they don't stay dark, or they stay dark, but you have a depth of understanding that they're not dark in the truth anymore, I guess.
These are those are some lessons that I learned along the way. And, I want to say, like, a couple of the things that were most powerful to me, it was finding out later that people had prayed. and that they had prayed, like one guy had prayed for me by name for 7 years. And I found him every day for 7 years. And I had seen him in a radio station when I was an atheist, and he was a Catholic, and we got into a conversation about politics, and he, you know, because he was interviewing me. And I said, he asked who my favorite political individuals were, and I mentioned like G.K. Chesterton and Hillary Belloc, and I think I even mentioned Leo the 13th and stuff. And he's like, "What? Like, but you're an atheist, you know?" And so I was talking to him about distributism and such. Well, we got into a debate after the show was over. You know, we're going back and forth, you know. And he was this older guy, and he told me, you know, that he said that he's like, you know, you're gonna come back to the church. And I'm like, you know, in your wildest dreams, buddy. And he's like, well, I'm gonna pray for you. And I remember thinking that night, they all say that. Well, it's about 6.5 years later, I had just come back to the church. I've been back in the church for about 4 months. And my buddy, he asked me, he's one of my few Christian friends while I was an atheist. And he helped me a lot. And he said he wanted to go to this meeting at this Catholic church up the road from my house, and asked if I wanted to go. And it was free, and they had, you know, even food and stuff. And I said, sure, I'll go. So I went, and we're sitting down. It was a break in between one of the messages and stuff. So we went to the area to eat the food and everything, the social hall. And I see this guy, and I'm sitting down, you know, and I'm still new to this, so I'm not talking to anybody. I'm kind of like by myself. And I had a little name tag on, and the guy looked at me, and he said, I keep seeing this old man like looking over at me. And I looked at him, and he said, I've seen you at the Latin Mass. And I said, yeah. And he goes, what's your name? And I said, Jeremiah. And he goes, Jeremiah. And he said, what's your last name? And I said, Bannister. And I get choked up. I gotta stop. Like because he just started weeping. And he just reached over like lightning, just super fast. And he grabbed me, and he's staring me in the face, and he's shaking, and he says, I have prayed for you for 7 years, like this. And I'm like, what? And he goes, the radio station. And I'm like, you're the old man. Like, you're the guy that said you were going to pray. And I'm like, and we're crying, we're hugging each other. My buddy had gone to use the bathroom, and he comes back, and we're like, we're crying. And he's like, I missed something. I'm like, he prayed for me, and he's like 7 years, you know. But that guy now, he's my son's sponsor in confirmation.
Jeez.
And that man is a very, very important person in our family. But he didn't talk to me after that night. And yet that man, and the lessons I've learned from him since about my own tragedies and things I've gone through. And so a lot of the lessons, like, you know, that God will use these things to make you what you are in the future. Like we have revelation allows us to see things ahead of time, right? Like, because we're not seeing them, we're just mimicking what we're told. And so it's like it's a God's eye view, so he knows. And so we can do that. But that person in the moment, you know, they may even know that, but they want nothing to do with that. In fact, because they may be afraid of what's going to happen. Where is that heartache and feeling like they've been obliterated into a billion pieces? Where is that going to lead them? And they're probably afraid. They probably are harboring anger and rage, even at God.
Yeah.
And so they hear that this is going to work out. That becomes a remarkable mystery to them. Give it time. And one of the things that I really appreciate, I remember my favorite thing that other than knowing that somebody prayed for me after the fact, was a guy came over one night, and I just had it. I'd had it hearing all the stories of people telling me things would be fine. And I'm like, not happy. I'm not anticipating what's going to happen. And he comes in, and he said, I bought the cigars you like. And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah. He said, I got that. And he says, I got some booze, man. And I'm like, really? And he said, yeah. He said, he said, just, we can drink a little bit. He said, just sit out on the porch. And so I go out on the porch, and I'm still the whole time thinking he's got something up his sleeve. And all he had up his sleeve was that booze and a cigar. And we sat there a long time. We didn't even talk a whole bunch. But I remember that being one of the most like grounding things, because I didn't have to deal with the exasperation of hearing somebody tell me it's going to work out okay. That's something, just let God deal with that person as they're moving along. And if you do talk to them later and they're in despair about something, address that, right? But be cool about not jumping the gun. We're not nearly as sagacious as we think, and like that we're like the person that settled it finally. Like, well, I told him this is the case, and he accepts. Probably not, man.
Yeah.
Like
you're not the one.
You're not the one. You're not the one. So just don't, and that's actually a relief, I think, to some people too, because people don't know what to say. And you're like, you know what? Think what would they like, do you think? Do you have some time? Do they like music? Do you just want to say, hey man, I know it's weird, but you just want to just chill and just listen to tunes, and I brought coffee or I bought beer or I bought wine or whatever, and just chill. Like, we don't even have to talk about anything. I just wanted to just tell you I was thinking about you, and I miss being just around you. Just that they care about you, the wholeness of you as a person, as a living soul. And it just, that was helpful.
Yeah, because you're still here. I think that's got to be one of the hardest parts. And again, I don't know, or a hard part is, even with faith, the person has passed on. Like in your case, your daughter didn't suffer anymore. Like she was, right. She's with Christ, but you're still here. And there's got to be moments of just like what the flip do I do? Like, what do I do now? And to have someone come into your life and just be like, hey, you want to just smoke a stogie? And I don't need anything from you. Do you want to just, I'm here with you. We can just do this.
Yeah.
There's got to be so much like fundamentally spiritual Christian goodness to that act.
Yeah.
Where we would think like, oh no, I spoke words of gospel to somebody. I spoke words of peace. But no, I think there's so much like factual goodness in just being with someone like God does with us, in our sufferings.
Yeah.
I think we could all do well by trying to steer clear of that temptation of being the one who has the magic word of wisdom.
Yeah, man.
Like trying to become someone's best friend when you weren't before, after a tragedy or something like that. Like, just take a little humility and say, I don't have the perfect words that's going to magically fix it.
Yeah. And just, and as I said, like praying for that person, and sometimes, just not even telling that person you did that. Just praying and trusting that God does that for you, right? That if you really are praying for real, like if you love God and there's a bunch of people, you got to trust there's a bunch, and that God's hearing them, and that He cares, and He doesn't want to see that person a wreck. I mean, and the truth is that event will make that person, whatever they are coming out of that. Yeah. We have this weird thing. I remember the godmother, in fact, when she lost her son. I remember, I've told this story before, but I was at the funeral, and I'm in the back, and you've got the casket out there, and the doors were shut to the sanctuary area, and we're waiting. And so for some reason, they weren't thinking, the people at the doors, the ushers, they opened those doors, man, and they weren't ready to go out. The organ hadn't come, there was no bells yet, no nothing. So like, I don't even know if they do that during a requiem mass with the bells, even in the entrance and stuff. But it was one of those things where they opened the doors, and our little Italian godmother was standing about 10 feet away, and she had her mantilla on, and she's sitting there. And I remember to this day, man, I remember she turns like this and she looks, and that look in her face, you never forget. And she ran up just full steam and jumped, and everybody knew, like, whoa. And she jumps on the casket, and she's holding it, and she's crying out in the most gut-wrenching sound, my boy, my beautiful boy. And she's holding it, and she's weeping on this casket. And we're all just, at that point, everybody's just, it's a horrible thing, and beautiful but horrible, right, at the same time. And they try to get her away from her stuff. But I remember I wrote about it later, and I thought, how can someone live that way? How can someone survive? Because I said I'd never lost a child at that time yet, and I said I'd never lost a child. How is she going to function? I cannot even imagine how debilitating and paralyzing the whole thing would be. And then, but when you experience that, it's like the same thing as how we're all like habitual waker-uppers, right? That's a really scientific phrase for it. I think it's in the literature.
Yeah, that's
that's
the term.
Yeah, waker-uppers. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
And so, like, yeah, it's confirmed, guys. It's
Socrates.
Socrates.
He used that.
Yeah, waker-uppers. But we are like, try to stay asleep. Try to do it. If you're not dead or in a coma, right? Try to stay asleep. Your body, you'll wake up and then you'll try to go back to bed. Then you'll wake up and you try to go back to bed. And eventually, whether it's bed sores or whatever, it's going to make you be like, dude, I can't lay down anymore. And you'll get out of bed groggy and you'll walk around, you'll get some food. You have all of these things that drive you to movement, that drive you to activity again. Even when you're down, you're still going to get up to go to the bathroom, right? Like, I mean, there's things that you no matter how hard you try, the situation is created in such a way that it's really difficult to do that. It's the same thing with moving on after the death of a child. That you can be, it was the fog of war, what I called the fog that I went through. It was about 3 months. And I remember the day I snapped out of it, I was listening to John Frusciante, I think is how you pronounce the last name. Used to play guitar for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff. And he has a solo album and his song, The Song of the Siren. It's a song that he sang. And I'm listening to it. And all of a sudden, I snap out and I look down and my belly is like real big. And I'm like, what? And I look down and I'm not wearing a shirt and I got sweatpants on and slippers. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't like, how did this happen? And I get up and I'm like looking around and I'm thinking, man, how long has it been? And it was like being in a fog. I had done a lot of things. In fact, it was like 3 months. So I'd done a lot of stuff, but there's like a veil that's over you. And there will come a day when that kind of starts to fade, right? The fog lifts and you will start going back to work. You will do your normal stuff. And then it's a different kind of pain where you start to feel badly because you aren't crying as often, or because you don't remember the sound of their voice or the touch of their face or their cheeks when they put their face against you before going to bed. And you forget those things, or you're not mentioning her as often as you used to. And some days you may go a while, maybe you haven't gone to her grave in a long time. That's a totally different experience of the loss, right? And in some ways it's worse, but you're functional. And so that person's going to begin functioning again. This shall happen. And as long as you're there for them through those cycles and seasons, that you are close to let them know you're there, but you far enough that if they don't want you around, don't push it and don't be offended by it. And that instead you just simply trust. I don't need to tell them what I'm doing so much as just doing it, being there for them, loving them, caring about them, sending them, cigars or beer, whatever I know that they like, kind of thing. And just knowing, just letting them know that I think they're cool people, and just leave it at that. Nothing fancy. No poetry needed. Don't spice it up. Just leave it at that. And I can almost assure you that they'll be grateful for that.
So 2 things. One serious and then one lighthearted as we trend towards the end. The serious one would be, as a Catholic, then, do you, and I've had people ask me this who have lost loved ones, do you ask for the intercession of your daughter? Or how does that work when it comes to, so for instance, what was his name? The saint. When he was passing away, he told his brothers, you guys don't weep for me because I'm going to do more good for you in just a little bit than I ever did here on earth. And Teresa of Avila, I think it was who had said,
Therese of Lisieux.
Therese of Lisieux. Yeah. Like I'll spend my heaven doing good on earth. Is there like an awareness of that with you? But even if there's not like an awareness, like physically, mentally, emotionally, is that something that you guys have taken to doing, or where do you fall in that regard, asking for her prayers as opposed to praying for her?
Well, because I know my pay grade, right? And because I know that there are rules about this, I say it's both. What I do is I always ask people, I say, pray for the repose of my daughter's soul. And if she already be in heaven, that she pray for you. Because I think that's the safest bet, to say, you know, I'm going to pray for the repose of your soul. But if she's already in heaven, well, that prayer for the repose is going to help other people. But the prayer that if she's in heaven, pray for me, Samantha. And I do it all the time. Plus the aims for canonization, though, for any person, if they said, look, we believe this person should be canonized, that would be people approaching the church with evidences of miracles that are attributed to the intercession of those people. So there is a point where people begin to at least do both, right? Now, some, of course, might just assume outright, right? They may believe in playing risky business, you know, and say, like, I'm just going to assume this. I remember my sister told me one time, and people can take this as they want. She said, you know, we pray and ask for Samantha's intercession all the time. And I said, well, you know, I said, I do too. I said, but I don't really know, you know, where she is. And she's like, oh, I believe she's in heaven. And I said, well, you know, we kind of, you know, there's no indication, like I don't know miracles or anything. And she goes, she said she's done miracles. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, Jeremiah, you were on the state board of one of the largest atheist organizations in the state of Michigan, and you were on radio bashing God constantly. And now you are sending your kids to a classical Catholic school and you go to church every week. She's like, you may not think that's a miracle, but everybody who knows you does. And my mom, yeah, Kevin, I'm with you, dude. That's called the mic drop. My sister just dropped it like this, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'll accept that. Then my mom said something that wasn't quite as flattering, but I'll take it. And it was also about me. She said, Jeremiah, she said, you may not realize this. She's like, but you're way more humble than you used to be. You're not the same man anymore. She said, you used to always have to win, always arguing and trying to dominate stuff, you know, like I'm gonna argue you into the kingdom kind of thing, and always debating constantly, and even fearing not being wrong. Fearing being wrong was bad enough, but the fear of not knowing and saying, I need to know everything. I was a know-it-all for real. And she said, Jeremiah, you are just not that anymore. And she goes, and you were that for, you know, 37 years, you know, 38 years. And she goes, that there's nothing other than, and it wasn't even after she died. It was in the lead up to this. And she's like, and people prayed about you, and people asked Samantha to pray for you. And the last one is me saying what happened with me. I did not pray for 7 years. And even when my best friend died in a tragic car accident, I did not pray. And when my daughter died, I did not pray at all. And, you know, it was a terrible thing. And I remember after she died, the world's going through election 2016 and everything's getting intense and it's all nuts and everybody's losing their minds. Violence is happening. And I'm in the atheist world, but I'm a conservative guy. Like, I have traditional views on family, even abortion and stuff. I still talk about Chesterton and Belloc. So, I mean, I'm an atheist, but I'm also just like super conservative on tons of things. Well, they were like, you know, defending people getting smashed with bricks in the face and stuff because they were a MAGA rally or whatever. And I'm hearing these people, they're like, well, I wouldn't do it myself, you know, but they maybe shouldn't be supporting a Nazi kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be quiet and not tell them where I am. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. So I was really scared. And I remember I was driving one day in a car and I was weeping, and I could not understand why all this was going on. And I finally it was like an ejaculatory prayer where you cry out loudly. And it was sudden, like when you, I know it sounds terrible, but like when you got to puke and you're like, you can't stop it. It's just coming, you know, it's about to happen. That's what it was like to pray this. And I cried out to my daughter and I said, Samantha, I don't know if you are out there. I don't know if you're in heaven or not. I don't even know if heaven's real. But if you are there, I ask that you pray for me and that you help me, because Papa is lost. I said, I am broken. I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, if I need stuff out of my life, please help me get it out. And if I need stuff in my life, please help me to get into my life. If I need to figure it out or if people come. And bro, 48 hours later, I am going through something that my family called war, because it turned into a season of life where everything that I had built for years in this little empire of dirt that I had, all of a sudden, boom, 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 everything's collapsing. People, right? I'm put on the block on this, and then I go over here, and people are saying this over here, and I'm scrambling. I'm all over the place. I'm trying to salvage anything, and I'm freaking out, man. I'm like, okay, I gotta answer this person. I gotta be on this show to explain this, and I gotta do this, and it's all coming down, everything. And I'm sitting around one night, and my whole world was gone. I felt like everything was destroyed. And my buddy tells me, he's an unbeliever, and he looked at me, he said, Jeremiah, you're in a real downward spiral, bro. And in that moment, something just clicked. And I remembered the upward spiral of Purgatorio. And I thought, and I remember I had my head down, and I shot up, and I said, bro, I said, hey, no. I said, it's an upward spiral. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, oh no. I said, hold on, man. I said, it's like the Matrix, these shows where these big drills are under the earth and it crashes through and debris flying into the drills and it's spinning like this. And I said, it's this crazy thing and debris is going and it's emerging. I said, it's emerging. It's making its way. And he's like, you're making no sense. And I said, no, I know what's happening. I said, I know this is, I get, I know. I said, dude, all of the things I needed out are gone. And I said, I was confused. I said, because I didn't think it was going to work. I said, I think I'm just talking to the sky. I'm just a guy crying, an atheist crying and doesn't know what to do. And lo and behold, guess what? Within 48 hours, everything, boom, gone. And then the people started coming into my life. I didn't even have to ask. All of a sudden, people come into the house. Hey, man, you want to go get coffee? All of a sudden, my network of friends were now these like Catholic-y people. I didn't ask them. They didn't know that I had prayed that. And so if I have to sit there and say, do I believe she's in heaven? You better believe it, son. However, I'm also cool enough to say, I pray for the repose of her soul in case. And so that's my answer for that.
How
I had
soon?
a friend.
I was just gonna real quick say, how soon after you threw out that prayer in your car did you end up at that Christmas mass?
Within a matter of a couple months.
Okay, so that was fall.
Yeah, it was fall. Yeah, in fact, it was. Let me think here. It would have been after the election, so it'd been like September 15th or whatever. And in between that time, I mean, you got to imagine what it would take to get us to that place. Those little miracle kind of things, my kids and stuff that took place in that short period of time. But it had already been happening to where things were getting peeled away. That looking in hindsight, to say, man, look at how God was doing this over here, even little things like taking atheist off of my bio on Facebook and stuff. I didn't make a big deal out of it, but I took it off. And things like that. I still identified as godless, but I could no longer say that, what I used to say before. But I mean, we're talking, it was radical. And it was such this moment. It was like, that was an epiphany. And nobody understood. Nobody understood. The people that I was surrounded by just were like, they didn't understand it any more than me having Our Lady behind me in my office all the time, or me going to Christmas vigil every year. They didn't understand it. And I didn't either. But I can look back, like you were saying earlier, look in hindsight at the end, Kevin, looking back and seeing what God did. And it's already started. I'm able to do it now. And I'm like, Lord, you are blowing my mind just all the time. And so, yeah, that'd be my answer to the serious question.
Just connected to that, would there be, for those who watch this after the fact, would there be a video, like if they went to YouTube and just searched for something that would be your testimony, whether it's your coming back to Christ or the experience with your daughter, what would be something that they would search for so they could find, after the fact and learn more about that process?
Yeah. One of them, and I'll give a couple. One of them would have been, oh, hold on. I'm looking it up on my computer just because I always forget the name of the title. Tragedy, Terror, and Triumph with Jeremiah Bannister. That's on
YouTube.
Yep, that's all of these. I'll tell you, we're on YouTube, and I'll give you one, and and that way you can put the links. I'll share the links with you after the show. You can put them into the description on YouTube.
Tragedy, triumph, and what?
A tragedy, terror, and triumph, and just say reason and theology after that, and it'll pull it up. That one is a fun one, and it kind of goes into a fun story, and then it goes into this mind-blowing story. That's actually the one that Haley, when she mentioned me on your show when David Gray was on and stuff. And I always forget what's the girl's name, the lady's name, the blonde.
Leah Jacobson.
Leah, yes. Oh, so yeah, Leah was on that, and but that Haley mentioned, she said if you want to see his conversion story, she was talking about that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. I also have the one that I made, and it's got pictures involved and stuff like that, and it's shorter, and it's only about that, and that is the let me go here. Atheist family. Atheist family converts to Catholicism, Paleocrat. So just look that up, or just go to Paleocrat on YouTube. I don't do a lot there right now, but if you go there, you can see that.
Yep, it's on there.
Yep. And then the last one I'll tell you, because there's one, I mean, Timothy Gordon interviewed me. That was a good one. Tim Flanders interviewed me about it. But there's another one, and this will give you an idea for my writing. And so I want to give this to you instead. I'll give you the one here. It's called To Live and Die Beneath the Waves. If you just go to Meaning of Catholic, it would be meaningofcatholic.com. There's a little category bar, little category tree, and you'll see authors Jeremiah Bannister. I've only got 2 articles in there. They're both excellent, if I can say so myself. If I can, they're good. They're really good. But the one about To Live and Die Beneath the Waves, that is about lessons I've learned from the ocean about life and death. And I talk about my daughter, and the picture that goes with it is my daughter on her deathbed. And I need to be quite frank, she is dead in that picture. But it is a beautiful picture. I hope one day that I can commission a painter, somebody to paint it in a beautiful way, because it's stunning. The other one is a Rurate Cheli Mass. And so it's a story that goes into it's a really cool story. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really cool. And now that that's coming up, it won't be too far. It's something that would be seasonal, and people would really enjoy reading that. But those are both available over there. But the To Live and Die Beneath the Waves tells some of the story, and it's pretty powerful. But those and of course, even on mine, the last thing you can say, on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist for Team Tiny Dancer. That's my daughter's group, that the support network, and those videos in there are about my daughter and our family. And so in there, I mean, I even have ones you will, I can tell you right now, do not watch these if you need to, like, if you're a teacher, right, and you're like, oh, I'm going on lunch break, I want to watch these. Do not do that. You will come back with puffy face, because you are going to literally weep your brains out. And I say that because I have had hundreds of people reach out to me to tell me not only how much it made them cry, but that they wish that they had waited to watch it, because they're like, I had to go back into work. I wasn't thinking that this was going to happen to me. So make sure, I got one about happy birthday to my daughter in heaven. That's a powerful one. That was, I think, her 15th birthday. I've got one, of course, the one about the family converting, and I include pictures and stuff like that in there. And then I've got even the one about my daughter died today. I made that this year, when she would have, on her birthday. And I've got clips actually from the day where we had to carry her from this house. I did not show that, but I showed other clips from that day of our family around the gurney and things like that. And you can see clips, and there's a table of contents of that video to go directly to that part. So you can just see just that and hear the story. But they're powerful, and I could go on forever about stories of how it's transformed people's lives.
These particular ones, these are where?
My YouTube channel.
These are on YouTube channel.
Yep. And as I said, I don't use it so much anymore because I'm with Meaning of Catholic and I'm with Reason and Theology. So like, they've got say 14,000 and 16,000 people respectively or whatever. I'm like, I've got a couple thousand. I haven't really done anything on my stuff for a long time. But if I do stuff about family, that's where I post it. That's where I post my stuff.
Okay. So then just before we close it out, because we're just crossing 2 hours now. And now. But I did want to say, so I was texting Jeremiah like last week before, or whatever, right after he had mentioned our episode, and I had made a mistake in texting. I said, listen, I do these voice messages because I have these fat thumbs and I can't text worth crap. It doesn't come across right. I'm so sorry. And he responded with a voice message. Yeah. And I haven't asked you about it since, but I laughed out loud. I told my wife, I'm like, this guy I got a message from Jeremiah saying, hey man, I totally understand. I was born with 2 thumbs and one of them had to be amputated. And I was like, what the crap?
Watch this.
So
Watch this.
If this is real, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Can you in like a minute or two tell us what that's about?
I cannot bend my thumb. So like take this one, for example, right? See how if I lay it flat, see how I can almost touch it to the fleshy part of the palm. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on, let me get it flat.
So what's wrong with that thumb, bro?
I had 2. You can see the knuckle right there. You see the bulge? I had 2 thumbs. Look how little that thumb is compared to this thumb.
Wait. Right? Stay right there. Hold on. Yeah. I want to make there we go.
So this one, I don't know if I can. So watch this. I can't bend. I can bend this. See this one? See how that bends?
Yep.
Yeah.
Watch this.
That's as far as it goes.
And look how it bends, dude. It looks all messed up.
So do you still have the? Did you get to keep the other thumb?
Yeah, dude. We got it. There's like this like. They have these things, these like glass enclosures and stuff for like little kids when they get it removed. No, of course not, dude.
Like a hyperbaric chamber.
No, yeah, they got these glass enclosures, and people are like, "What's that?" And you're like, "That's my thumb bone when I was a baby." And they're like, "Why would you keep that?" No, they took it off because when I was born, it would have been like like this, like I had 2 thumbs moving, and so 2 thumbs right here. My cousin was born. He had a part of a small pinky that came out from like the second knuckle here when he was a kid. And the thing is like, but when I say my cousin, it's not like I had one. My mom was one of 11. And so each one of those kids, I mean, we were talking like, I have like 60 cousins and stuff. And so, but when I was born that way, they couldn't keep it because I guess the nerve endings in between would have pinched. And it would have caused excruciating pain and even like paralysis and stuff like that. It would have been extremely bad. And so they had to remove it. Yeah.
So what year were you born?
1978.
Okay, same here. When's your birthday?
March 27th.
You're like under a month older than me. Anyway,
yeah.
Back in the day, they had no idea. If they had left that thing, you would be like a master texter now. Like you could.
Yeah, right.
Your response.
You could write piano music that nobody else could play.
Guitar, dude. I'm like, I'm like, I'm playing quadruple neck guitars, and they're like, "How are you doing that?" And you're like, "Because I have 3 thumbs."
I got this.
I got these 2 thumbs on one hand. But no, so I mean, it would have been dope. But I'd be really good at playing like speed running for like video speed gaming and stuff and all that. I'd be really good at it. My typing, I'm already fast, but I can only imagine how great I'd be if I had next.
It's the what if. You can't play the what if because they just torture you, man.
I know.
Them removing that thumb saved you from a wasted life of professional video gaming.
I know. You got to look at it. Yeah, it's the silver lining. That's really what it is. I mean, so but it hurts every once in a while. Like I mean, when I was a kid, people would they would just throw like they'd throw something at me as it playing around when we're kids, and it would hit right there on that knuckle, and you want to talk about excruciating pain. It's arthritic, so like I can't. I used to be able to bend my thumb almost about down to here, and it's lost almost 90 degrees of mobility since I was a kid, and so eventually I won't be able to bend it even at all, and it will just. I mean, it's already looking stupid. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Look at this.
Yeah, that's disgusting, Jeremiah.
It is. It's actually gross looking if you think about it. But nobody even knows. Like, even people who see me, in real life, you know, they're talking to me, they'll shake my hand, and you can't tell, but even the knuckle, like here is like real funky compared to this one. This, you know, so there's a lot going on. So yeah, I was dead serious when I tell you, you know, like BlackBerry phones, I could text so good with those things because they had little keys.
Yeah.
And so you can feel them, man. It's like guitarists when they play with strings that have, you know, or frets, right, on the neck.
Yeah.
And they can kind of tell, like a singer can kind of feel even almost subconsciously where they are on the neck based on how many frets they've gone over those little. And so if you don't have that, it's harder, right? And it's that way with a flat screen phone. So my brain tells me that my thumb, I look at the screen and I see the letter and I tell it, you know, I'm doing just like I do normally, but my thumb just doesn't reach it. And so, or it does, but it's the wrong. So it's like it's coordination's not.
It does, but it's your imaginary thumb that hits the key, but you still feel it.
Yeah. So you know, it's like the imaginary thumb, and I'm like, oh, and I'm crying in my sleep. I'm like, I wish I had you.
Do you wake up sometimes and you can feel that thumbs up? You would have been the ultimate encourager too, to be able to give a triple thumbs up to somebody when they did a good job. I mean,
I used to say that when I would do like movie reviews and stuff. I'd say I'd give it 3 thumbs up, and people were like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Well, it's technically 2 in a Phantom, but still, you know, it's what it is, you know." And they're like, "Where's the other one?" I'm like, "It's in that chamber, that glass chamber."
I got it in a Ziploc baggie. They gave it to me in a baggie.
Ziploc.
Well, because I had a kidney stone once when we were in the Caribbean, and I kept it in a baggie for like 2 years. I had it with me, this little kidney stone. I lost it somewhere along the way. But
did you like carry it around the house, or was it like a tooth that you know, a little kid tooth that you put somewhere? And
I wanted to get a little glass case that I would always wear around my neck just to remind me to drink water, but I lost it somewhere in the move back to America. But okay. So
somebody found this kidney stone, dude, and they're carrying around like some charm. They're like,
oh man,
they're like, I wonder what this thing is. I bet it's gold.
Yes.
To be honest, it looks like, well, you can't even see it. It looks like sugar in the raw. I mean, it looked like a piece of sugar in the raw. So I'll probably just put one in a baggie tonight and just say, hey, I found it.
I think my prayer every night before I go to bed now is going to ask God to never send me a kidney stone, because that just sounds like the worst thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you, like,
let's not get into kidney stones, but go ahead.
When I started to have it, I was Googling online, and there were married women in these like forums, like mothers who had birthed children who were like, I birthed a child and I had a kidney stone, and I'd birth a child any day of the week over having a kidney stone, because it feels like somebody's stabbed you in the back, but then it's like a twisting motion. And we were in the Caribbean. We didn't have AC. Like it was like 100 degrees. I was just vomiting all over the floor of this little bathroom because the hospital couldn't do anything with it anyway. But I think I'm going to use sugar in the raw. That'll be my kidney stone from now on.
Yeah.
All that to say, Jeremiah, we always ask the guest to end in a toast.
Yeah. Hold on.
Any kind.
I got to pour a little itsy bit more. Because I just polished off the last little bit. Hold on. I was poured in right now.
Beautiful.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, first of all, let me just say this has been a real pleasure. You guys are cool dudes. I knew when I watched you, and I mean, I was there. I was sad because you guys were getting ready to go, and I'm like, don't stop yet. Like I was serious. I think I said don't stop, and you know, and so, you know, I just want to say thank you, and that it was really not just a pleasure to see you that night, but a pleasure to get to know you guys better. And I hope, Kevin, that we can talk and to get to know each other a little bit better.
I'm going to steal your phone number from Nick now, so.
You do it, and he can tell you it's legit. If you call me, I'll talk to you, man. Like it's not, for real. And so, in fact, I enjoy it. I love it. And so here's to doing our best, right? In spite of all the things that come our way, in spite of all the tragedies and the trials and the terrors, that we can also know, as Nick said, that there will come a day when we can look back on all those things and see God and Our Lady's handiwork in it all. And so that should give us comfort now, even in the hardest times, including maybe when we get less than 100 views on our video. And that we can say it's all for a reason, and hopefully only for a season. But cheers.
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 There we go.
Kevin, take us out.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Jeremiah, it was a pleasure, but I will have you know that it was me who said we can look back on the work that our Lord and Lady have done. It's not Nick. Screw you, Nick.
Did I say Nick? I meant to say Kevin. I knew it was you.
I wasn't going to correct you. I'm not going to correct you.
I'll take credit.
Did I say Nick?
I never said anything that good in my life.
Whatever, man. Forget what I said about I can't wait. I can't wait.
I was looking at you.
Yeah.
It's what? It's 1:44 in the morning.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot throwing me under the bus. Last thing.
Man. Dude, I can't wait to check out your show and your channel and your sites.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have you on again. I know that.
Man.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
Yes. Amen.
All right. God bless.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.